Hey folks, it's John with KeepFishKeeping.com. Very excited to bring you the next phase in this 240-gallon aquarium project. I'm really excited because today it's all about filtration, and I'm also excited because I'm going to build what is quite possibly the easiest sump system that you've ever seen. Anybody can build one of these, and you can build it for very little money. It's not going to cost you a fortune. It will cost you less than buying a canister filter. With a tank like this, odds are you'd have to buy a couple of canister filters, so you're really going to save money. So yes, if you've ever been intimidated by a sump system, you're going to want to watch this video because I think I might change your mind. Of course, before we get started with it though, I got to explain to you how stupid I am. Before we get started with building this sump, I've got to tell you a story that will explain why I am such a stupid person. Yes, two stupids, that's how stupid I am. When I put in the order for this tank, the folks at customaquariums.com asked me, will you be using our seamless sump? And I said, well, you know, I love that system. I've got two of them right now on my other big tanks. They're great, but I think I want to try something a little different on this one. I want to do a DIY sump. It'll be a lot of fun, nice little project, something to work on, you know. And they said, okay, well, do you want us to make any alterations to the stand to accommodate your new filtration system? And I said, no, I don't think that's going to be necessary. It's just a 75-gallon tank. That's all I'm going to use, so it'll slide in there, no problem. And they said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, it's a 6-foot by 2-foot tank. There's plenty of room in there. There'll be room to spare. It's a 75, yeah, it's no problem. And they said, are you positive? And I said, yes, I know what I'm doing here. And they said, okay. And they built it exactly like I ordered it. Well, when I got this thing to the house and I started playing around with it and I was about to go to the store to buy a 75-gallon glass box to use as my filtration system, something clicked in my head. I said, wait a minute, hold on. I know there's enough room under there, but is there enough room to fit the tank in the doors, through the doors? Uh-oh. So I made a cardboard mock-up of a 75-gallon tank, and I tried to slide it in there, and guess what? It won't fit. Again, there's plenty of room in the footprint of the tank, but there's not enough room to slide the tank into the door and get it in there. There's a solid 3/4 of an inch thick back panel on there. So there's nowhere for it to go, and a 75-gallon tank will not fit in there. So what do I do now? So I started looking around. I started thinking of other options. What else can I use? What other things can I do? Maybe I could use a 55-gallon tank. No, that's not going to fit either. I cut up a piece of cardboard and tried that. That didn't fit either. What I should have done with this project was something that one of my customers did. I sold one of these tanks very similar to this to a guy that was doing something similar to me. He was building his own sump system. And what he did was he got a door put on the side. And that way he can open it up, slide the sump in there, close the door, everything's good. That's what they were asking me pretty much was, do I want to do something like that? I didn't think I was going to need to do it. And now here I am. I had to figure something out. So I started measuring other tanks. I started trying to see what else could work. And the only thing I could come up with was exactly what I'm doing here, which is not building one big sump, but building two small sumps. I'm sorry, Custom Aquariums. This is something that I don't say to too many people. But you were right, and I was wrong. Oh, that hurts. So anyway, enough of a pity party for me. I solved the problem, so now let's get into it. Let me show you what I built, show you how I built it, and how it works. And we'll put one together, we'll get them in here, and hopefully in this video we'll get it going today. I don't know, we'll see. All right, so this is what I came up with for my super simple sump design. Try saying that 3 times. This is as simple a sump as there is on planet Earth. Anybody can do this, and anybody can do this for relatively cheap, certainly cheaper than canister filters. But Anybody can build this. You don't need any kind of degree in engineering. It's just easy. I don't know how else you want me to say it. But before we talk about how it works, I wanted to tell you where I got all of the stuff for this. Most of this came from Amazon. The filter sock bracket, the filter socks themselves, the biomedia, the sponges, they all came from Amazon. The CJ pump is something that I bought direct from CJ because I'm a retailer for them. So I got it at wholesale prices. Lucky me. The Eheim Jaeger heater, it's 300 watt heater. We actually carry these on our website. So I stole it from keepfishkeeping.com. So we paid for it, but we paid wholesale for it. But everything else came off of Amazon except for the tank itself. I bought that at the Petco $1 a gallon sale, so they cost me $29 each. And then the egg crate I bought at Lowe's. Light diffuser, egg crate, whatever you want to call it. Very, very cheap. You buy it in larger panels like this, 2 foot by 4 foot panels. These are meant to be in the ceiling for fluorescent lights like in offices and stuff like that, but they work perfect for building little things for filters. So yeah, I'll put links to everything in the description, not affiliate links or anything like that, just regular old links so that you know what it is that I used here if you want to build something like this for yourself. If you have a 240 gallon tank and you want to build them exactly like this, you can do that. Or if your tank's a little smaller and you just want to build one, or you want to use a 55 gallon or something like that, you can absolutely do that. This design will carry over to whatever size aquarium you're going to use for this. And it would even work for if you're going to use like a plastic tote or something like that. I'm not as big a fan of that because a lot of times you can't see through those, and I kind of like to see what's going on in there, be able to tell if it's dirty. Plus, it just doesn't look as good. I mean, if somebody looks under there and they see this, even though this is a sump in its simplest form, it's still kind of impressive looking. It looks like some kind of a science project, so you can impress your friends more if you use a glass aquarium like this. So let me go through with you how this system works. Again, it's as simple as you can get. The water from the drain will run down through this filter sock here, which is a 200 micron filter sock. So it's going to pick up a lot of the stuff. Because this is on the top like this, it's very simple to pull this out and clean it out. You could even wash it in the washing machine or something like that, bleach it if you needed to. I actually bought a 4-pack of these filter socks off of Amazon. So the way I'm going to do it is when they get fouled up, I will pull it out and just wash it in the washing machine. I think you can do that. I don't know, maybe it would affect the ring. I'll have to check into that. Don't listen to me when it comes to that. But even if I can't wash it, I can just bleach it in a sink or something like that, and it'll be nice and clean for the next time. So I'll always have them in rotation. So once it goes through that filter sock, it's going to come down here into this area down here, which has these little blocks. I'm going to be honest with you, I've never used these once in my life, but I've seen a lot of people that have used them, and I've seen people that have talked pretty good things about them. This is just biomedia. It's meant for large surface area for the growth of beneficial bacteria. This is a Haiger product. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Pretty inexpensive. I think I got like 36 of these, and it was like 20 bucks or something like that. So the water is going to accumulate down here. It's going to gather in the bio area down here. I'm also going to probably put a couple of Purigen packets down there, again, to just add a little bit more to it. But the Purigen packages could go anywhere, but I'll probably put them down there right below the filter sock. So water comes down here, it's in the biomedia, it's filtered by the filter sock, and then the water is pulled through this sponge here. This is not held on with anything. It is literally just sitting in there, but I cut it nice and tight so that you kind of do have to really force it in there, but it's in there good and strong. So it's not going to just float or fall off or anything like that. It's really only there to hold the sponges vertical. That's its only purpose. So the water is going to fill up to about right here, and it'll be forced to go through that sponge. So this is a double layer of this sponge. Again, links will be in the description. It's a 12 by 12 by 1 inch thick sponge. You can use any kind of sponge. It really doesn't matter. I don't even know why I picked these. I can't even give you a reason why. I did have to cut like a little bit off, like an inch off of each one to get them to fit in there perfectly. Otherwise it would have been bent. But yep, like 20 bucks off of Amazon. That's where that came from. Again, the bracket, I haven't even opened this up yet, but this bracket, Amazon, I think it was like $14 each one. And then the filter socks are, again, off of Amazon, pretty cheap. So anyway, I know I'm kind of all over the place here. I'm sorry. I'm just excited about this. Once the water is pulled through this sponge, then it will get into the actual sump. The sump is only going to have the pump and the heater in it. That's it. The heater can go anywhere. If you use smaller heaters, you can put them anywhere. It doesn't matter. But the fact is the heater is down here and the water is being pulled across the heater, which is great. It definitely makes it more efficient. And there's going to be one of these 300 watt heaters in each one of these sumps. I'm going to build a duplicate just like this one. I'm going to build it with you here. So it's going to be very, very, very fun. But yeah, recap, because I go all over the place. Water comes in here through the filter sock, accumulates down here, hopefully not making a whole lot of noise. It's going to get exposure to all of that beautiful biomedia. It's going to get pulled through the sponge into the pump, across the heater, into the pump, and straight back out to the tank. You notice there's not all these different levels and all these different baffles and stuff like that. I'm not going to tell you those things are bad, but what I am going to say is, why? Why do they need to be there? To me, it's just another thing to make noise. And this is actually my office. I like for it to be quiet out here so that while I'm editing videos, I don't hear all this nonsense. And this is going to be very quiet because there's not a bunch of waterfalls inside of the sump. That's why I did it that way. So very, very simple, easy. Anybody can do it. Let's go ahead and build the second one, and then we'll get them put on the tank. And I don't know that we're going to get these running today because I don't want this video to be 45 minutes long. All right, so the first thing that we have to do is get this filter sock bracket, I guess that's what it's called, installed. This is actually designed to go on to a rimless tank because that's, I guess, what most people use in sumps. We do not have a rimless tank. We've got this frame here. And the frame causes a problem only in one area, which is the small lip that sticks out on the bottom to hold your lids in place. So I've got to notch that little thing off of there. And for me, it's a great excuse to use one of my favorite tools, which is my Dremel tool. But if you don't have a Dremel, you could use something like a file would take it off. Not a nail file, but a wood file, or maybe even 1,000 passes with a razor blade would cut it off. I don't know. There's plenty of different ways that you can do that. But for me, it's a great time to use the Dremel. And of course, I'm going to be safe, and I'm going to wear my safety glasses, which are not safety glasses at all. They're just my sunglasses. Now that that little lip is out of the way, I can install this onto here. I am going to put a small shim behind it, only because it doesn't want to sit straight if I don't do that. So this thing is super easy to use. It just tightens up. It's a pretty cool little bracket. I mean, there's a lot of them available on Amazon, but this one works. It's pretty nice. I mean, I'm happy with it. It's good and strong, so that's good. That part of it is done. I know I said how easy this thing is and anybody can do it. You may look at cutting that notch as something that's very difficult to do. I promise you it's not. Even with something like a razor blade or something like that, it'll take a lot longer to do it, and you have to be real careful not to cut your hand off, but I just love using the Dremel, so any excuse I have to use that tool, I'm going to do it. So now I'm just going to place the biomedia in here. There's really no wrong way to do this. These are just little bricks that stack up. You can put them in any configuration that you want. I am actually going to put them in a little bit different configuration than the last time. I can't do that. Wonder if I could cut these. Okay, that was working, but no, I'm not going to do that. So these things, don't have to, wow, it smells like fireworks in here now. That probably wasn't a good idea. These don't have to go in any specific way. They can go in however you want them. I don't think there's really any rules to this. I could even put them in kind of diagonal like that. It really doesn't matter. What I was trying to avoid was them being stacked 3 high, because if they're stacked 3 high, that interferes with the filter sock. So I don't know. I'm not going to be picky about it. It really doesn't matter. As long as it's in the water, it's going to help. And if it interferes with the filter sock, I'll just take a couple of them out. It's not a big deal. So that's in. I mean, how easy is that? Come on. I mean, your kindergartner could do that. Filter sock just goes down into this bracket. It snaps into place. Super easy. So now the first phase of this filtration is done. Filter sock is in. Biomedia is in. Again, this little cavity right here would be a nice place to put some Purigen or something like that. Now we need to get into the little sponge wall. And for that, I will be using this diffuser. We talked about it earlier. And I actually have a template right here, because I'm going to pull out the ones that I made for the other ones, and I'm just going to use this to get my marks to cut the new ones. The good thing about this diffuser, or egg crate, whatever you want to call it, it's the easiest thing in the world to cut. Just cut it with regular old wire snips, or not wire snips, but I've always called them dikes, but that's kind of an offensive word, I understand, but wire cutters, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so first of all, I am well aware that I could have used the Dremel to cut this too, but when you cut a lot of plastic with a Dremel, this room would stink for 2 weeks. So yeah, it already smells out here from trying to cut that yellow stuff. No, I'm not going to mess with that. Plus, it would probably take a little longer than doing it with the dikes. But this is the next important part of this whole thing, is fitting these in here. This is something that you have to take your time with, because these need to be tight, but not so tight that it causes them to bow and you break it trying to get it in there. It's a little bit too big, even though I used it. I used the template, so I'm going to start slowly trimming these down so that they fit in nice and snug, standing straight up, and they won't flop around or anything like that. Might take a little bit of time, but it's not hard work, so just enjoy the process. Next thing is cutting the sponge. You don't need a lesson on how to do that. Now these sponges, there is nothing mechanically holding them in place at all. They're just standing up, and your egg crate is holding it up into place. Super, super simple. I mean, if you can use a pair of scissors, you can do this. Even cutting the egg crate, you could cut that with scissors if you really wanted to. It might break a little bit, but the good thing is these are 2 foot by 4 foot panels, so you got a lot of chances. If you break it, you can easily cut another one and just move on. Don't sit there and whine about it, just cut it, move on. These are not structural. They're just basically standing up to hold these in place to force the water through the sponges. If these fall, your fish aren't going to die. The whole thing isn't going to fall apart. But have them in there tight enough to where they're just standing up on their own. There's not a whole lot of movement, and that's all you really need. It's not like there's going to be this massive wave of huge current going through this filter. It's going to be slowly pulling that water through there. It's not going to pull this off. If you are overly concerned about that, you certainly can silicone these into place. That's not a problem. I just don't feel like doing that, because I would rather be able to just pop this off, pull these sponges out, squeeze them out, put them back in. It all takes 5 minutes instead of having to try to manipulate this thing out without, you know, because these are fastened in place with silicone, it would be a struggle to get these sponges out. So for ease of use and easy maintenance, I'd rather just have them held in there by friction. I can pop them out and service these sponges very, very easy. So our sump project is literally done. We used the Dremel to notch this out. Again, if you don't want to do that, there's other ways of doing it. It's not difficult to do. It's very, very thin plastic. I mean, even a hot knife would probably go through that and it wouldn't be much of a problem. We got that in place. We stacked up our biomedia. Now all we need to do is put the pump in place and then our heater. Where did I put my heater? 300-watt heater in here, down on the bottom so that it's always fully submerged in the water. Boom. It's done. Very, very simple. So let me get these things under the tank, because you know what's funny? I did all this and I haven't even put these 2 tanks underneath the tank to see if everything will fit. Why wouldn't it fit? I don't know. But the luck I've had lately, oh boy. So here we go. It fit in here nicely. It looks really cool. It looks much more advanced than it actually is, but I'm really happy with the way it looks, and I'm also happy about the way that it's going to perform, because I know it's going to perform well. I've built sumps similar to this in the past, and it's very easy and it's efficient. It works. It works really, really well. Unfortunately, we don't really have enough time to go through all of that, get it all running and everything in this particular video, because I don't want this video to be an hour long. So what's going to have to happen is you're going to have to come back next week. Next week, we'll talk all about the heaters, the pumps, the plumbing that's going up to the back of the tank. We'll get some substrate in here, and we'll get this thing filled up with water and get it running. We might even talk about the lights that I got for this tank too. So yeah, in the next video, we'll get this thing up and running, get it in its full glory, and it will be magnificent. That will be a lot of fun. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. This was a lot of fun to do. I hope you enjoyed it too. Let me know in the comments if you try out a project like this for yourself, and let me know how it works out for you. So anyway, thanks again, and I'll talk to you next week.